Let me take you back to a kitchen in the dead of winter, in the year 1948. On a morning so cold the inside of the windows wore a fern of frost, and the water in the dog's dish out on the porch had gone hard as a stone overnight. There was no thermostat on that wall. There was no furnace humming away in the basement, pushing warm air up through the floors while everybody slept. And yet I want you to understand something right from the start, because it is the whole point of this story. That house was warm, not warm everywhere, not warm all at once, but warm where it mattered, when it mattered, and a family of 6 lived through that winter snug and content, and never once felt poor for the lack of central heat. They knew things we have forgotten. And one of those things, near the end of what I want to share with you, was so clever, so simple, and so quietly brilliant that the first time somebody explained it to me, I sat back in my chair and thought, well, why on earth doesn't everybody still do that? I will get to it, but not yet. Let it sit in the back of your mind as we go, because it is the best one, and it is the one you will most want to try yourself. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, pull your chair in close, maybe drape something warm over your knees, and settle in with me a while, because we are going to walk through 12 different ways that families kept warm in 1948 without any central heat at all, one at a time, and for each one I am going to give you the memory, the warm and living picture of how it actually felt, and then I am going to give you the takeaway, the honest little trick buried inside it that can still cut your own heating bill this very winter. Some of these you may remember in your bones. Some may be brand new to you. And every last one of them was paid for not with money, but with know-how, the kind of know-how that does not cost a thing and never stops paying you back. And while you settle in, do me one small favor. Tell me down in the comments where you grew up and how your family kept warm when you were small. Was it a coal stove, a wood stove, a register in the floor you stood over while you dressed? I would love to know. There is a whole life held in the memory of how a house was heated, and I would be honored to hear yours. Now, let us begin where the warmth began, right at the heart of it. Number 1, the coal or wood stove. Before anything else, there was the stove. And in most homes in 1948 it was the great black heart of the whole house. A cast iron range in the kitchen, or a pot-belly stove in the front room, fed by coal hauled up from the cellar in a scuttle, or by wood split and stacked and seasoned all through the autumn. I can hear it now. The scrape of the shovel in the coal bin, the clank of the iron door, the soft roar as the draft caught and the fire took hold. That stove did not just warm the air. It warmed everything near it, deep and steady. The kind of heat that sinks into your hands and your back and stays there. The takeaway is this, and it is the foundation of everything else I am going to tell you. Heat one source well, and let it do its work, rather than trying to warm every cubic foot of empty space around you. A modern space heater in the room where you actually are, with the rest of the house turned down low, follows the very same wisdom that stove followed. Now here is the safety word, and I will say it gently, but I will say it plainly. Any fire, any flame, any burning of coal or wood or gas needs air and needs a clear chimney, and it can give off a silent gas you cannot see or smell. So, if you heat with anything that burns, put a carbon monoxide alarm on the wall, keep that chimney clean, and never ever leave an open flame unattended. The old folks respected fire, so should we. Number 2, the warming brick and the hot water bottle in the bed. Oh, this one. This is the one that brings the tears, isn't it? On a winter night in 1948, the bedrooms upstairs were cold as a barn, because you did not waste good heat warming a room nobody would sit awake in. So, before bed, your mother would set a brick, or a flat iron, or a smooth stone right on the back of that stove to soak up the heat. Then she would wrap it in a length of flannel, an old towel, a bit of worn blanket, and she would carry it up the dark stairs and tuck it down at the foot of your bed. And you would climb in, and find that little island of warmth waiting for your cold feet, and the world would be all right. The hot water bottle did the same gentle work, rubber and warm against your shins. The takeaway is wonderful, because you can do it tonight. You do not have to heat a whole bedroom to be warm in your bed. Warm the bed, not the room. A hot water bottle from the drugstore, filled and tucked under the covers 15 minutes before you turn in, will let you keep that thermostat down low all night long and save you real money, and you will sleep better in a cool room under warm covers than you ever did in an overheated one. Just be sensible with the temperature, snug, warm, never scalding, and you will be set. And let me tell you the thing nobody talks about, the secret reason this works so well. Your body does not need the whole room to be warm. It only needs a little ring of warmth right around it, under the blankets, and the moment your cold feet find that warm spot, the rest of you relaxes and lets go of the cold, and down you drift into sleep. The old folks knew that in their bones. They did not fight the winter for every inch of the bedroom. They made one warm little nest in the middle of all that cold and crawled right into it, and they slept the deep, sound sleep of people who had stopped trying to do the impossible. There is a lesson in that even past the heating, if you want one. Number 3. The heavy quilts and the feather tick. Now the bed itself was a fortress against the cold, built up layer by layer the way you would build a fire. Down at the bottom sometimes was the feather tick, a great fat mattress of goose down that you sank into and that closed around you like a warm hand. And over the top went the quilts, the heavy ones, pieced together over long evenings from every worn-out dress and shirt and feed sack the family had outgrown, every square a little memory, every stitch put in by hand. 3 quilts, 4, piled so heavy you could barely roll over, and so warm you never wanted to. The takeaway is simply this: trapped air is what keeps you warm, and layers trap air better than any single thick thing ever can. Several lighter blankets layered together will hold you warmer than one heavy one, because each layer catches a pocket of still air. Pull out the extra blankets, layer them up, and you will not need to touch the heat all night. And if you have a quilt your grandmother made, do not save it for a shelf. Use it. That is what her hands meant it for. Number 4. Closing off the rooms. Here is a habit so simple and so thrifty that I am amazed we ever let it go. In 1948, a family did not heat the whole house. They heated the rooms they were living in, and they shut the door on the rest. The parlor that was only used on Sundays, the spare bedroom, the cold pantry, the front hall, all of them were closed off behind their doors all winter long. The heat kept where the people were. You would walk into that shut-up parlor to fetch something and your breath would hang in the air like smoke. The takeaway puts money straight back in your pocket. You almost certainly have rooms in your home you barely use, a guest room, a formal dining room, a storage room. Close the vents in there, shut the doors, and stop paying to heat empty space. Heat the rooms you live in. It is one of the simplest savings there is, and our grandparents did it without a second thought. Number 5. The heavy curtains in the windows. The windows were the weak spot, always. The place where the cold came creeping in and the warmth went sneaking out, and your grandmother knew it. So she hung heavy curtains, thick drapes that she could draw closed the moment the sun went down, sealing the cold glass away behind a wall of fabric. Some folks tacked up old blankets over the windows in the worst of it. And in the daytime, those same curtains were thrown wide open on the south side of the house to let every bit of that low winter sun come pouring in to warm the floor and the walls for free. The takeaway costs you nothing and works tonight. Open your curtains on the sunny side during the day to catch the free heat of the sun, and close them tight the moment the sun goes down to hold that heat in and keep the cold glass at bay. Heavy curtains, lined curtains, even a thick blanket over a drafty window, all of it holds warmth in the room where it belongs. The sun has been heating houses for nothing since the beginning of time, and it will gladly heat yours. And let me pause right here just for a moment, because you have been so kind to sit with me this long. If these old memories are warming something in you, If you find yourself nodding along and remembering the feel of a cold bedroom and a warm brick at your feet, then I would be so glad to have you here with us regularly. Just tap that subscribe button, no fuss, and you will not miss the next story. We are a quiet bunch here, folks who remember, folks who believe the old ways had a wisdom in them worth keeping. You belong with us. Now, back to the warmth, because we are getting closer to that clever one I promised you. Number 6. The kitchen as the warm heart of the house. If you wanted to know where a family lived in the wintertime of 1948, you did not look at the parlor, you looked at the kitchen. Because the kitchen was where the stove was, and the stove was where the warmth was, and so the kitchen became the heart of the whole house from November to March. The bread baked there and threw its heat and its smell into every corner. The kettle sang on the back of the range. Homework got done at the kitchen table because it was the warmest spot to do it. Folks pulled their chairs in close, the cat curled under the stove, and the whole life of the family gathered itself into that one warm, bright room while the rest of the house slept cold and dark. The takeaway is a small joy. Let your kitchen work for you. When you bake or cook in the cold months, you are already making heat, so leave the oven door cracked open after you turn it off and let that good warmth spill into the room instead of trying to vent it away. Cook a pot of soup on a cold day and you warm the house and your supper at the same time, the way they always did. One small warning only, and it is an important one. Never, ever use a cooking stove or an oven to heat a home on purpose, especially a gas one, because that is exactly how that silent, dangerous gas builds up. Cook your food, enjoy the warmth that comes off it, but heat your home with something built for heating. Number 7. The layered clothing and the long johns. Now here is a truth the old folks understood right down to their toes, and we have mostly forgotten it. The cheapest way to heat a person is not to heat the air around them at all. It is to dress the person. In 1948, you got dressed for winter inside the house just as surely as you dressed for it outside. The long underwear, the long johns, went on under everything from the first hard frost and stayed on until spring. Wool socks, a flannel shirt over an undershirt, a sweater over that, a shawl for Grandma around her shoulders in her rocker, a cardigan you could button up when the fire burned low. You did not sit around in a thin shirt and then complain you were cold and crank up the heat. You put on a layer. The takeaway is the single biggest one in this whole list, and it will save you more than any other. Dress warm indoors. A good sweater and a pair of warm socks and maybe long underwear on the coldest days will let you turn that thermostat down several degrees and feel perfectly cozy, and every single degree you turn it down is real money saved, month after month, all winter long. They did not heat the house up to the person, they dressed the person up to the house. Number 8. The chimney's radiant heat. Here is one most people never even think about, and it is a beautiful piece of old wisdom. That brick or stone chimney running up through the middle of the house was not just a pipe for the smoke. It was a great warm spine, a mass of masonry that the fire heated up all day long, and that brick held onto its warmth and gave it back slowly, gently, for hours after the fire itself had burned low. The wall behind the stove stayed warm to the touch long into the night. Children would lean against the chimney to do their lessons. The bedroom that happened to share a wall with the chimney was the warmest bedroom in the house, and everybody knew it, and there was always a quiet competition over who got it. The takeaway is about thinking in terms of heat that lasts. Anything heavy and solid in a warm room, brick, stone, tile, even a big jug of water set near your heat source, will soak up warmth while the heat is on and release it slowly after the heat goes off, evening out the cold spells and stretching every bit of warmth you pay for. The old houses were built around that idea. You can borrow a little of it just by understanding it. Number 9. The draft stoppers. Now here is number 9, and I have a real fondness for this one because it is so humble and so clever at the same time. In an old house, the cold did not just come through the windows. It came snaking in under every door, through every keyhole, up through every crack in the floorboards, a thin, cold river of air running right across your ankles. So your grandmother made a draft stopper, and you have surely seen one. A long tube of fabric, sewn from scraps and stuffed with sand or rice or dry beans or just more rags, and laid right along the bottom of the door to block that cold draft cold. Some were plain. Some were made into long, fat cats or dachshund dogs with button eyes set against the door like a faithful little guard. They tucked rags around the window frames and stuffed the keyholes with cotton. The takeaway is almost free, and it works the instant you do it. Go find your drafts. Hold a hand or a lit candle near the bottom of your doors and around your windows, and wherever you feel that cold air sneaking in, stop it. A rolled-up towel along the door does the job tonight. A few dollars of weather stripping does it permanently. Sealing the drafts is the single cheapest heating improvement there is, and a family in 1948 did it with a tube of old cloth and a handful of beans. Number 10. Gathering in one room. This one is less a trick and more a way of living, and I think it may be the warmest of them all, in more ways than one. On the coldest nights, the whole family gathered into one room, the warm one, the one with the fire, and they stayed there together all evening long. Father with his paper, mother with her mending, the children on the floor with a board game or a book, Grandma in the rocker close to the stove, the dog stretched out flat in the heat. One lamp, one fire, one room, everybody in it. They were not scattered to separate corners of a big warm house, each in their own cold space. They were together, knee to knee, sharing the heat and sharing the evening. I remember being told about evenings like that, the radio playing low in the corner, the wind hunting around the eaves outside and finding no way in, the fire ticking in the stove, and not one soul in that family wishing they were anywhere else. The cold pushed them together, you see. It made a small, warm circle, and inside that circle was everyone they loved. The takeaway saves money and gives you back something better than money. Pick one room to be the warm room in the evening, gather everybody into it, and heat that one room well while you let the rest of the house go cool. You will spend far less, and you may just find, as they did, that there is a particular kind of warmth in a family, all gathered in one room together, that no furnace in the world has ever been able to give. We have spread ourselves out now, each to our own warm room and our own glowing screen, and we call it comfort, but I am not always sure we gained in the trade. There was something in that one shared lamp and that one shared fire that warmed more than the body. And let me stop here a moment, because we are coming up close now on that clever one I told you to watch for way back at the beginning, and I do not want you to miss it. We have one more to get through first, and then I am going to give it to you. But before I do, if you have been enjoying sitting here in the warm with me, going back to these old winter nights, then do an old fellow a kindness and tap subscribe so we can do this again before long. It means more than you know, and it keeps these old skills from slipping away for good. Now, let me give you number 11, and then the one you have been waiting for. Number 11. The banked fire overnight. Here is a piece of real skill, the kind that took a practiced hand. When the family went up to bed and the fire could not be tended for 8 long hours, you did not let it go out, because relighting a cold stove in a freezing kitchen before dawn was nobody's idea of a good morning. Instead, the last one up banked the fire. They would rake the glowing coals together into a heap and cover them over with ash and damp down the draft, so that the fire did not blaze and did not die, but slept, smoldering low and slow all through the night under its blanket of ash. And in the gray, cold morning you raked that ash away, and there were the live coals still glowing, ready to wake the fire back up with a few sticks of kindling and a breath of air. The house was never let to go stone cold. The takeaway, for us, is the principle, not the practice, because banking a coal fire is old craft and not something to take up lightly. The principle is steady and low beats, hot and cold. A house held at a steady, modest temperature, even overnight, often costs less, and feels far better than one let to go frigid and then blasted back up to warm. Keep the embers of your warmth alive through the night gently, and you wake to comfort instead of a cold start. And the safety word stands firm here too. If you ever do heat with a real fire, that banked fire still needs a clear chimney and a carbon monoxide alarm watching over the sleeping house every single night. And now, here it is, the one I told you to watch for, all the way back at the start, number 12, and to my mind the cleverest of the whole bunch. Number 12. The warming shelf, and the heated soapstone, and the whole quiet art of carrying the heat with you. Here is what I mean, and here is why it is the best one. Those old folks understood something we have completely lost sight of. They understood that you do not have to stay where the heat is. You can take the heat with you. That stove with its warming shelf up top, that was a heat factory running all day, and they used it to charge up little batteries of warmth they could carry all over that cold house. The soapstone was the masterpiece of it. A flat slab of soapstone, a special kind of rock that drinks in heat slowly and holds it for hours and hours, far longer than any brick. They set it on the stove in the morning, and by evening it was a warm and patient little furnace all its own. And then they carried it into the cold church pew on Sunday, wrapped in flannel under a lap robe, to keep the whole family's feet warm through the sermon, out to the barn for the milking, down to the freezing parlor when company came, tucked into the bottom of the sleigh for the ride to town, the heat lasting the whole way there and most of the way home. They were not prisoners of the one warm room. They had learned to bottle up the warmth and take it along, and that, to me, is just about the smartest, most graceful answer to a cold house that anybody ever thought of. The takeaway is that this very idea is yours to use right now. You can buy a soapstone today, or a rice-filled bag you warm in the microwave, or that same humble hot water bottle, and carry your own pocket of warmth from chair to chair, from room to room, out to the cold car, into the cold bed. Heat the person, and let the person carry the heat. You will be warm wherever you go, and your whole house can stay cool and cheap behind you. They figured that out with a rock and a wood stove 75 years ago and more, and it is every bit as clever today as it was then. That is the one I wanted you to have. Not because it is fancy, but because it turns the whole problem on its head. We spend our days trying to heat the air, all of it, everywhere, all at once, and the air just leaks away through every crack and every window the moment we make it. They heated solid things that held the warmth, and they heated people, and they let the cold air be cold. That is the secret hiding underneath every single one of these 12. They never tried to heat the empty space. They warmed what mattered, the bed, the body, the brick, the one good room, the gathered family, and they let the rest of the house be just exactly as cold as the winter wanted it to be. But I do not want to leave you thinking those were hard, shivering, miserable times, because they were not the way the people who lived them remember it. That same generation, the one that warmed its feet on a brick and gathered into one lamplit room, did not feel deprived. They felt cozy. They wrung deep comfort and real joy out of a wood stove and a stack of quilts and a soapstone wrapped in flannel, and the habits that kept them warm are the very habits that can warm us now and shrink our bills while they do it. Warm the bed, not the room. Dress the person, not the house. Close the doors on the space you do not use. Catch the free heat of the sun by day and seal it in by night. Stop the drafts. Gather your people into one good warm room of an evening, and carry your own warmth with you wherever you go. None of it is hard. None of it costs much of anything, and every bit of it puts a little more of your hard-earned money back in your own pocket where it belongs, while making your home feel more like a home and not just a heated box. That generation knew a secret we are only now beginning to remember. That comfort is not the same thing as warming every empty corner of a great big house. Comfort is a warm bed under a heavy quilt, a brick at your feet, a family knee to knee around a single stove, and the sound of the kettle singing while the snow comes down outside. They had so much less to work with than we do, and somehow, in the deepest way that matters, they were warmer than we are. You know, I have thought a good deal about that frosty kitchen in 1948, and about the mother who carried those warm bricks up the cold, dark stairs to her children every single night of the winter, never once being thanked for it, never once expecting to be. I can see her there in the lamplight, wrapping the brick in flannel, feeling its heat through the cloth, climbing the stairs in the cold to tuck it down at the foot of a little bed so that some small pair of cold feet would find warmth waiting in the dark. That was love, is what that was. That was a whole way of caring for the people under your roof, paid out not in money but in attention and in effort and in know-how, night after night after night. And the children who grew up with warm bricks at their feet never forgot the feeling of it, not to the end of their long lives. That is the thing the cold numbers of a heating bill can never quite capture, and it is the thing I most want you to carry away with you tonight. The warmth they made was a warmth they made by hand, and by hand-made things somehow hold us closer than anything that comes out of a vent in the floor. So here is what I would love from you tonight. Down in the comments below, tell me one way your family kept warm when you were a child, one trick, one memory, one thing somebody did to chase the cold away that you have carried with you all these years. The warm brick, the register you dressed over, the quilt your grandmother stitched, the one warm room where everybody gathered. Share it, because somebody reading needs to hear it, and together we can keep these honest old skills from disappearing for good. I read every single one, and I treasure them more than I can say. And if you have enjoyed sitting here in the warm with me, going back to those snug winter nights of 1948, then do an old fellow a favor and subscribe so we can do this again real soon. Next time, I want to take you out to the garden and show you how families in the old days grew and put up enough food to feed themselves clear through the winter, with no grocery store and no freezer aisle in sight, and ate like kings doing it. You will not want to miss it. We will keep the old wisdom alive together, you and I, one story at a time. So pour yourself one more cup, pull that blanket up over your knees, hold your people a little closer, and remember that the warmest things in this life were never the ones that came with a thermostat. Take good care of yourself and stay warm, and I will see you next time.